started the recording.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you want me to admit everyone from the lobby?
Sure, we can start doing that.
Then let's just start at 2 then, rather than 5 minutes. Since we're already recording.
There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the May 12th Community of Practice. We're going to wait a few minutes as people are coming into the Community of Practice. I'm going to go ahead, Derek, and move over to the next slide as people are entering into the meeting in case that way it's ready for you and you're ready.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Hey, everybody, welcome. And as we're sort of barreling through our spring on the way to summer, we thought it might be fun if you want to put in the chat, do a little share out of maybe your favorite thing about spring or what might be happening this spring, something that you're looking forward to. So if you'd like to share with the group and put that in the chat, that'd be awesome. While we kind of just wait for everybody to get on board here. Great, a lot of gardening, a lot of longer days, some sunshine, a little summer fun. That's a good one. Oh, mushroom hunting. Whole new front yard. That sounds great. Also potentially anxiety provoking, depending on how much yard work there is. He says gardening, cool. Ooh, Kathy's gonna have a grandbaby. Congratulations, Kathy. That's very exciting. And knee replacement. Ah, yes. Enjoy the, yeah. Yeah, my peonies are about to pop. I can see the beginning, but they're pretty cool. So like it's like Orville Redenbacher with the people popping up into the lobby when this slowly there's fewer and fewer pops. Eventually we'll move on. I always burn my popcorn though, so I'm a bad judge of this. I should be one call on it.
It's a good analogy though, that once you hear a lot of pops in the beginning and then yeah.
Yeah. And maybe we're all just a little burnt. I don't know. Southern Oregon's popping off. Yeah. Yep. Students getting ready to fly the coop.
All right, looks like we've had a pause on people joining.
Yeah, I'm hearing less pings, so I think we're probably there. So, well, thanks for sharing about spring, everybody. I hope you're having a good one next month, June and summer. All right, well, we just want to do a bit of quick housekeeping. You have experienced the welcome again. We're going to have a regional spotlight with our workforce partners. You see they've joined the call. We have some Pre-ETS resources and spring opportunities for events that our Pre-ETS coordinators will be talking about, some service reminders, and of course, some time for FAQ at the end. Just want to do some general housekeeping. Your questions are valued and important to us. Please put them in the chat. We will monitor them. And if we have time, get back to them at the end of the call, or barring that, you can get follow-up. Somebody from your region will reach back up to follow up with you after the meeting. So we'll talk about questions at the end of the co-op, and things may sound a little different from region to region. It's a big state, and sometimes we're doing things slightly differently, but hopefully pretty much the same across the board. And when in doubt, reach out to your youth service coordinator for clarification on anything you might hear in this meeting. So with that, I will pass it along. Thanks.
Sorry, little lag on the slides there. I was like, oh, yes, this is our regional Pre-ETS coordinators. We will have summer workshop offerings. And, sometimes we'll do statewide, like we had over spring break, we did driver's permit. In the summer, what I think our focus is a little more regionally. And so if you click to the next slide, that gives, kind of breaks out Tabitha up there in the gray and in the northern counties, and Susan in the purple, Hannah in the yellow, and myself in the brown, sort of gray there. Well, it's not gray, it is brown. So that separates out our regions, and you can reach out certainly to your youth service coordinator. You can reach out to us directly in your region if you maybe have a specific, ask around driver's permit or networking. Any of those workshops, VR 101 that we've offered out. We just wanted to make sure that people knew that we work in the summer too, and that we're a resource available for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Hand it off to Desi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. We wanted to give a little highlight as a team around work-based learning experiences as we come up to summer. So we wanted to share a few resources, kind of go into some ideas of ways you can provide work-based learning for the students that you're working with. So a few of our top resources that we would like to direct you to is our NTAC website, which is actually transitionta.org. Explore Work is another great resource for working with students, and T-Folio has a lot of great information and resources for work-based learning experiences. So when we talk about work-based learning experiences, this encompasses things like job shadowing, career mentorship, paid internships or non-paid internships, volunteering, those workplace tours and field trips. All of those things fall under work-based learning. So if you have more questions, need more resources, please reach out to your regional team.
Thank you, Desi. Also, as we were preparing for this community of practice and focusing on work-based learning experiences, it's kind of the time of year when students may have more opportunity or more time to take advantage of opportunities in their local community, accessing those work-based learning experiences. So we did a reach out and wanted to invite our workforce team to join us. So today with us, we have Misa Olson and Terry Brown from the workforce and business sector of VR. And they are going to spend some time with us talking about how to talk with employers around the topic of work-based learning. So I would like to welcome Misa and Terry and turn this over to you with a fist bump.
Yay! But you're still going to control the slides, right? Okay. Yay!
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So today we're going to briefly touch on and kind of reiterate what you're probably hearing from Desi and Michelle about speaking with employers about work-based learning opportunities. So if you want to, next slide. Oh, and I'm Misa Olson. So I cover, oh my goodness, I think I work with 3 of the Pre-ETS coordinators because I cover let's see, Central Oregon, so all of Central Oregon with Hannah, and then I cover a large chunk of Southern Oregon with Tracy, and then I just took over 3 counties in the Gorge, so I get to work with Susan as well, so yay! And then with me, I have Terry. Terry, do you want to introduce yourself?
I have a large county as well. Basically, I drive for a living. But I work now with Derek and Susan in the Gorge area, and Desi and Hannah in the rest of Eastern Oregon.
All right. And so just like I tell students and everybody that I work with on resumes, do the research of the employer. That's something that's super important when you're going to be reaching out to employers for work-based learning opportunities. You need to understand what their work involves in order to better understand how students can get integrated into that workflow. So make sure you do the research before you reach out to an employer, and identify potential areas. Oftentimes employers have multiple different areas in their business that can accommodate a student in a variety of different skills building ways. So make sure that, with that understanding, you're identifying potential areas. And see if they already offer programs. A lot of employers are probably working with workforce partners like Title I-B and those, and sometimes they're community colleges with internships. So check to see if they're already doing something similar. That way you don't have to recreate the wheel, and they're often more knowledgeable about those particular things. And so when you're reaching out to business, keep it concise and professional. There's a lot of stuff that's involved in what you do, but the employer doesn't necessarily need to know all of that. And when you're talking with them, make sure that you're not using our internal lingo, because a business is not a social service provider. A business speaks in business terms. So the more you familiarize yourself with what those business terms are, the easier it is for them to understand what you're telling them. So, telling them that you're interested in them hosting a Weeble will mean nothing to them. So approach the conversation from the view of what the business needs. Even though I put in this slide, you'll see employer and business kind of simultaneously, but you really need to start thinking about business as business. Unless they're a staffing agency, they're not in the business of employing people. So when you approach a business, it's not from the perspective of, I would like to place my student with you because they need this, this, and this. You approach you approach a business with, what value you bring to them. How can you help them meet their needs? And that way, an employer isn't going to be put off with somebody coming to them saying, I need you to do this. It's like you're coming to them to say, I think I can help you with your business needs. Let me tell you how I can do that. Does anyone have any questions thus far?
That's what I was going to interject, Misa, is that an employer is not in business to be an employer. They have a business to make money, not just to employ people. So that's something we need to keep in mind when we approach them.
Yes. All right. If there's no questions, we can move to the next slide. All right. So these are just some questions that you can ask an employer, like what types of projects or tasks do interns or learners typically get involved in? What does a typical day look like? I mean, these are all important to understand how that student can get integrated into that process. Especially it's important if they've hosted work-based learners in the past. Did they have a good experience? Did they have a bad experience? And if so, why? So you have that understanding, so you're not repeating something that may have caused ill favor with an employer. You can move on unless somebody has a question. We're just ripping right through these, baby. And so earlier I had said, you need to start talking in business speak. So highlight your value proposition. A value proposition is a huge business term. And so, explain what you can offer the employer. So we call it the WIFM, what's in it for me? And that's what an employer wants to hear. They want to hear that WIFM. And so make sure that you're focusing on the fact that students are eager to learn and contribute. They have enthusiasm and a fresh perspective. So a student coming in that hasn't developed any bad habits, like perhaps some of the incumbent workers, will see things in a new light. And oftentimes they can, and they're especially ones that are, technology savvy. And so oftentimes they can make suggestions that might help improve process flow. And, these are all things that employers like to hear. There's also potential for future talent. They can be investing in a future employee, or what I like to tell them is they're developing a pipeline of talent. And so by introducing these students into the workflow, they are possibly developing that pipeline that's going to serve them, especially when their incumbent workers start to retire. And Terry and I hear this a lot from employers, is that the generation that's going to be entering the workforce, doesn't have the skills that they need to be productive in the world of work. And so by creating this future pipeline and introducing students early on before they enter the world of work it's a great thing for an employer to have, because that's going to ensure that there's not going to be any gaps, and they're going to have people that are skilled up enough to be able to enter and do what they need without having that, with being able to fill their positions. Any questions?
And I think it's super important to add to, when you start developing this relationship, we're talking about the value add proposition, but you don't want to, I forgot the word. Don't underestimate the need for an employer to feel good, right?
Mhm.
So start that relationship. It's much easier to start a relationship with, can you do an informational interview? Low commitment on their part makes them feel good, right, about giving back to their community. And that opens the door to longer relationships, so you can ask later at some other point for a work-based learning experience that is longer in duration.
And that goes right into the be flexible and open to different types of opportunities, because not every employer, like Terry said, will be able to do a longer term one, or they might just want to dip their toe in the water to see how that works. So, having those informational interviews, job shadows, those very, very short term, easier things for employers to do are super important, and it'll get your foot in the door, especially if it's positive. And they're all valuable to students. And keep in mind that you're working on a variety of different skills that a student may need. And so it doesn't need to be accomplished in one placement. You can cover skills throughout in multiple placements. So the one placement doesn't have to handle everything that you're looking for. So a job shadow might just be the thing that you need. And then express your willingness to adapt to their needs. That's part of it. And, if they say, well, we're closed on these days, we have limited hours here, show them that you're willing to work within the parameters that they have as a business, because oftentimes it's easier for you and the student to flex than it is for the employer to flex. And then always inquire about next steps, because the person you're talking to initially may not be the decision maker for this type of thing. So it might be you need to be connected with HR for, to talk with them about it. So always inquire about the next steps. And then, of course, thank them for their time and consideration. For an employer, that meeting with you just cost them a considerable amount of money that they weren't working on their business for. So make them, let them know that you appreciate the time and value of their time. And then always send a thank you. It can be in person. I know a lot of the smaller rural communities, it would be in person rather than an email, but emails are fine too. Terry, did you want to add anything?
Nope, you pretty much covered it.
Questions, comments?
If you want, you're more than welcome to unmute your mic and ask a question of Misa and Terry, or if you'd prefer to pop it in the chat, feel free to do that. We will have time for Q&A at the end as well. Something pops in your head. And if not, thank you, Misa and Terry, for joining us today and for supporting our Weevil process this summer. We appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely. Would you like us to stay for the whole meeting, or is it not? You don't need us.
You are welcome to stay. Yeah, I think it would be great for you to stay if you've got the time to do so, in case questions bubble to the surface towards the end that are, maybe directed towards your segment.
Okay.
And then if there are no other questions, we do have a good insight and thank you. And our audio is working in some places, but not others. I'm going to go ahead and move us forward to CJ and some pre-ETS service reminders.
Hi there. All right, next slide. So we just wanted to kind of just go over just some reminders to think about when you are submitting requests, because those are still coming in, just to be planful when you're submitting them, and something to think about. And your youth service coordinator will talk more about this. We're kind of trying to gear up towards moving forward. So really think about like why a student needs the service and not just what service that you will provide. And and as you know, the slides will be available after this presentation. So these examples that are in there, you can go back and look at them. But something to like for a work-based learning, you could just say the students just never had an experience before, or they've only had a school-based business experience and not one in their community or in an area that they are interested in. Another one that I've seen for self-advocacy is somebody who's really shy, but they really want to be able, when they do have a work-based learning experience, to have the confidence to be able to ask for what they need. With reporting for pre-ETS, we're really thinking, focusing again for next year on that quality documentation. We have updated again the monthly report because one of the big pieces is it's actually a monthly summary. And so that is one of the big changes that we made in version 5. It's in the footer. So please remember that we did change that language. So it is about monthly summary of pre-ETS. And so your youth service coordinator will send you that monthly report. Next slide. For the dashboard, we know that some places have a lot of students on their dashboard. It might be really good to go and review those in these last few months of school. Are there any students that are on your dashboard that maybe haven't received pre-ETS yet, or it's been a while, to think about checking back in with them? Also remember to let your youth service coordinator know if you do have a student that is no longer a student of your school or ESD, so that we can archive that off your dashboard. And also sometimes services might not have been authorized for a student and now they are requesting those. So again, please reach out to your service coordinator and let them know why the student needs an additional service. Just wrapping up the reminders that are students receiving pre-ETS before they're applying to other VR services? So one of the things is we always talk about students receiving pre-ETS before they apply for other VR services, but also do remember that pre-ETS are by request. So a student doesn't have to have one, but it is really good kind of part of that process for a student to receive pre-ETS before they apply for other services. Also, just remembering that a student can apply for VR services when they're ready. So it's not necessarily based always on their age, but it would be other reasons of what they're needing. The summer. So summer's coming up. There are some people that are working over the summer, and please reach out to your service coordinator so that they know if you are working, because students still do want pre-ETS over the summer, and it would be real helpful so we can be planful. And if you're not working, also making sure that they know so that students that may need to receive pre-ETS over the summer, that we can coordinate those with other VR staff to have those be provided if that student needs them. And the current contract goes until September 30th. So after the school year, when you come back, this current contract still goes through the end of September. And the youth service coordinators will be reaching out with each of our regions and scheduling time in August or September to begin planning that new school year. So just be aware of that so that we can be planning for that new year. This is Barb.
Thank you. I forgot to have the other part put up for me. So if anybody has any questions, I noticed there was one question that came up that Derek had gone ahead and answered. Jody had asked, are we switching to the version 5 reporting? For those of us who are not using a pilot document, are to now switch. And Derek had responded that please use the newest version. And again, as CJ had indicated, that we will be sending that out this week to all of the schools. And you're not required to use this at this time. You are encouraged to use it, as it does really help in providing in information that is helpful for us in responding to the questions that we have. Here are my messages. Mo has a question here. Can VR send us notification? Let's just a minute. Can VR send us notification if we refer a student to VR? I know the student receives a letter, but they are not always responsible enough or have other things on their plate and don't always let us know. I check in with them, but confirmation from VR would be helpful. I think Michelle, Mo is in your region. Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah. So Mo, you and I can work together and work with your VRC to see how we can best get that information to you in collaboration with your students in your VRC. So I'll be sure to take that on with you.
And okay. Any other questions?
I do think, Barb, with the one question that Desi and I responded to in chat, just for anyone to know that, we can stop recording. But also that this recording will be on our website in about 3 days. It's pretty quick.